Have you ever felt like your heart is breaking over someone you deeply care about? Have you ever prayed and prayed for a person, only to feel like all hope is slipping away, like your efforts are in vain? I want to tell you today, if you're seeing this message, God has a word for you. Don't you dare give up. Yes, even now, at this very moment, God is speaking directly to your heart. He is reminding you that He is still at work, that His plans for this person and for your relationship with them are far greater than you could ever imagine. Too often we allow our human emotions, our disappointments, or the mistakes of others to convince us that it's time to walk away. We think, I've tried everything, nothing is working, maybe it's time to let go. But I am here to tell you, this is exactly the moment God is asking you to stand firm, to keep praying, to keep believing, and to keep loving. The person you are thinking about, the person for whom your heart has been heavy, is not lost. They are not beyond redemption. They are not beyond God's reach. The enemy will try to whisper lies in your ear. It's too late. You've failed. Move on. But God is louder, and His voice says, I am not done with them yet, and I am not done with you. Don't give up. Keep pressing in. Keep standing in faith. Even when you feel drained, even when circumstances seem impossible, remember this: God sees every tear, hears every prayer, and knows every longing of your heart. He is calling you to courage, calling you to persistence, calling you to unwavering love. Today, God is asking you to rise up and say, I will not give up on this person, because I believe in your power, Lord, to change hearts and restore lives. Absolutely. Here's an expanded version off Keynote 1 in a flowing sermon style, reaching approximately 500 to 600 words and without subheadings. Sometimes we grow frustrated because we cannot see immediate change in the lives of those we love. We pray, we encourage, we stand by them, and yet it seems as though nothing is happening. The heart that we long to see transformed, the soul that we hope will turn back to God, appears untouched, and in these moments, it is easy to feel like giving up. But I want to remind you today that God works in ways we cannot see. What may seem dormant or stagnant to your eyes is often the most active and powerful work taking place in the spiritual realm. God is moving in ways that are invisible, preparing the soil of someone's heart, softening what seems hardened, and orchestrating circumstances that will lead to restoration and breakthrough. You might not see the immediate results, but God is at work behind the scenes. It is important to understand that God's timing and methods are not like ours. We want instant results, immediate signs of change, and tangible proof that our efforts have mattered. But God operates on a divine schedule, with wisdom far beyond our comprehension. The Bible tells us in Isaiah 55:8-9 that God's thoughts are not our thoughts, and His ways are higher than our ways. That means what looks like delay or silence is often divine preparation. Perhaps this person is not ready yet for the transformation you pray for because God is shaping them in ways you cannot see. Perhaps they need experiences, lessons, or challenges that will bring them to the place where their heart is receptive. Even when you feel like your prayers are bouncing off the walls, God is hearing every word, and He is weaving those prayers into His plan. Consider the example of Joseph in the Bible. For years he endured betrayal, false accusations, and imprisonment. From the outside it appeared as though nothing was happening, as though God had abandoned him. But behind the scenes, God was orchestrating a plan greater than Joseph could imagine. A plan that would not only restore him but elevate him to a position of influence that would save nations. Similarly, the person you are praying for may be in a season that feels like darkness, but God is working invisibly to position them for blessing, for repentance, and for a renewed heart. Your faithfulness, your refusal to give up, is a part of that invisible work. Every act of love, every word of encouragement, every prayer lifted for them is a seed planted in God's timing. You may not see the sprout today or even tomorrow, but one day, in His perfect timing, the fruit will appear. Your persistence is a vital part of God's process, and your willingness to stay steadfast allows him to move without obstruction. So when you feel weary, when it seems as though nothing is happening, remember that God is working behind the scenes. Trust that his plans are unfolding, even if you cannot see them. Keep praying, keep loving, keep standing firm, because the work God is doing in this person's heart is alive, active, and unstoppable. What appears invisible is actually the most powerful work of all. If you want, I can also expand all 8 keynotes in the same style so that your full sermon reaches a polished 20-minute delivery length. This would make it feel like a full motivational sermon ready to preach. Do you want me to do that next? Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote 2 in a flowing sermon-style format of 500 to 600 words without subheadings. Persistence is one of the greatest expressions of love that God calls us to demonstrate. It is easy to love someone when everything is going well, when their heart is open, when the relationship flows smoothly. But real love, the kind that mirrors God's own love, is tested when circumstances are difficult, when the person we care for is distant, resistant, or hurting. Persistence in love is not passive, it is active, intentional, and courageous. It is the decision to keep praying, keep encouraging, and keep showing up, even when nothing seems to change. Every time you choose to remain steadfast in love, you are stepping into a sacred act that reflects God's unwavering devotion to humanity. Think about it. How often do we give up too soon, thinking that our efforts are futile? We may stop calling, stop checking in, stop offering words of comfort, and then we wonder why there is no breakthrough. The truth is that God often calls us to be persistent, because persistence matters in the spiritual realm. It communicates hope, it communicates faith, it communicates that we believe in the unseen work God is doing, even when our eyes cannot perceive it. Our consistent acts of love, no matter how small, plant seeds in someone's heart. Those seeds may not sprout immediately, but in God's timing, they will grow into a harvest of transformation, restoration, and reconciliation. Persistence in love also demonstrates faith. When you continue to care for someone who seems unreachable, you are telling God, and even the person you care for, that you trust in his power to change hearts. Your actions say, "I believe in your potential. I believe in the work of God in your life. I believe that you are not beyond redemption." This unwavering faith encourages hope in others and aligns you with God's purposes. Every encouraging word, every prayer whispered in the night, every message of support, even when ignored, has eternal significance. You are participating in God's plan through your persistence. It is important to recognize that persistence is not about forcing change or manipulating outcomes. It is about remaining faithful in your love while entrusting the person to God's hands. You do not need to carry the burden of transformation yourself. You only need to show up consistently, lovingly, and prayerfully. Your steadfastness opens doors for God to work. Your refusal to give up demonstrates a love that mirrors Christ's love for his people, a love that never fails, never abandons, and never grows weary. So, if you are tempted to give up, if you feel exhausted, remember that persistence is an act of faith and a reflection of God's own heart. Keep loving, keep praying, keep reaching out. Every small act of care matters. Every moment of faithfulness is planting a seed that God will bring to life in his perfect timing. Your persistence is not in vain. It is a divine instrument in the hands of God, and it has the power to change a life, a heart, and a destiny. Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote 3 in a flowing sermon style of 500 to 600 words, without subheadings. Faith has the power to move mountains. These are not just comforting words, they are a declaration of spiritual truth. Jesus said in Matthew 17:20 that if we have faith as small as a mustard seed, nothing will be impossible for us. When it comes to standing for someone we care about, especially when circumstances seem impossible, our faith is the bridge between despair and divine breakthrough. It is easy to feel discouraged when we look at the obstacles, the resistance, or the pain in a person's life. We see the walls they have built around their heart, the mistakes they continue to make, or the distance they place between themselves and God. But faith refuses to focus on the impossible. Faith looks beyond the visible and rests in the power of God to act. Faith is not passive, it is active and persistent. It moves us to keep praying, to keep speaking words of encouragement, to keep showing love, even when the person seems unresponsive. Each time you lift your voice in prayer, you are exercising faith in the unseen realm. You are aligning your will with God's will and declaring that you believe in His ability to transform a life, restore a heart, and redirect a path. Your faith becomes a spiritual force, a conduit through which God can move, even when all human logic tells you otherwise. Many times the enemy will try to convince you that your efforts are futile, that your love is wasted, and that the person is beyond help. Faith stands as a defiant declaration against those lies. It says, I will trust God's power. I will not give up because I believe in His plan. I will continue to intercede, to love, and to hope because God is faithful, even when the circumstances look impossible. Faith reminds us that God specializes in making a way where there seems to be no way. Faith also carries patience. Sometimes God allows delay not to punish us, but to prepare the person's heart for lasting change. Our prayers, persistence, and love, coupled with unwavering faith, create the perfect environment for God to work. When we combine action with faith, praying diligently, showing compassion consistently, and refusing to give up, we participate in God's transformative plan in ways that are powerful and eternal. Finally, faith strengthens us. It gives us the courage to keep loving when love feels unreciprocated, the strength to keep standing when the situation is discouraging, and the resilience to trust God's timing. When you exercise faith for someone, you are not only impacting their life, you are growing spiritually, learning patience, and reflecting God's steadfast love to the world. So remember today that your faith is not small. Even the tiniest seed of belief can ignite divine intervention. Your unwavering trust in God's power, your refusal to give up, and your steadfast hope are capable of moving mountains. Keep believing, keep praying, keep loving, because say through faith, God can accomplish what your eyes cannot yet see, and the impossible will become possible. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful forces in God's kingdom, and yet it is often the hardest to extend. When someone we care about hurts us, disappoints us, or turns away, our natural instinct is to guard our hearts, to hold grudges, and to step back. We tell ourselves, I deserve better, or I won't allow this to happen again. But God calls us to a higher standard. He calls us to forgive as He forgives. He calls us to release bitterness, to break the chains of resentment, and to create space for His transformative love to flow. Forgiveness is not just a gift for the person who wronged us. It is a gift for our own souls. It frees us from the burden of anger. It clears the way for reconciliation, and it opens the door for God to move powerfully in someone else's life. The act of forgiving does not mean condoning the wrong, nor does it mean pretending the pain did not exist. It means choosing to let go of the right to hurt back, choosing to surrender our desire for vengeance, and trusting God to handle justice in His perfect way. In doing so, we demonstrate a love that reflects Christ Himself. When you forgive someone, even when they have not asked for it, you are positioning yourself and them for divine restoration. You are removing the barriers that block God's healing and giving Him room to work miracles. Forgiveness is also a key to unlocking hearts. Many times, the reason a person resists change, resists God, or resists love is because they carry wounds of their own. They are trapped in cycles of guilt, shame, or past mistakes. Your willingness to forgive can be the catalyst that softens their heart, that lets them know they are not defined by their failures, and that God's grace is bigger than any mistake they have made. One act of forgiveness, ended sincerely and with love, can become the spark that ignites a chain reaction of healing, restoration, and transformation. Forgiveness also strengthens your own faith and resilience. When you forgive, you demonstrate trust in God's timing and His justice. You show that you believe He can restore, redeem, and guide even the most broken situations. Your forgiveness is a declaration of faith, a declaration that you trust God's power to heal what seems irreparable. It is an active choice to align your heart with God's will, even when it is difficult, inconvenient, or painful. Remember, forgiveness is not a one-time act, it is often a daily choice. You may have to forgive repeatedly, to keep extending grace when old wounds resurface or when the person continues to stumble. Each time you choose forgiveness, you are participating in God's work. You are helping to break cycles of hurt. You are modeling God's love, and you are creating an environment where hearts can change and lives can be restored. So today, choose forgiveness. Do not allow resentment or anger to dictate your actions. Trust God to work in the life of the person you care about, and allow your willingness to forgive to be the key that unlocks hearts, heals relationships, and sets the stage for His miraculous intervention. In forgiveness, you reflect God's love, demonstrate your faith, and position yourself for the incredible power of His restoration. Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote 5 in a flowing sermon-style format, 500 to 600 words, without subheadings. God often chooses ordinary people to carry extraordinary purposes, and He uses us as vessels to bring His love, light, and transformation into the lives of others. You may feel small, inadequate, or incapable of making a difference, but God sees what we cannot see. He sees the potential in your faithfulness, the power in your persistence, and the impact of your willingness to stand in love. You are not just a bystander in the lives of the people you care about. You are an instrument in God's hands, carefully placed to influence hearts, inspire change, and reflect His glory. Every word you speak, every action you take, every prayer you lift can become a conduit of divine intervention. Many of us underestimate our significance in God's plan because we focus on what we cannot do rather than what God can do through us. We may think, I am just one person. How can my love, my prayers, or my presence make a difference? But the Bible tells us repeatedly that God often chooses the weak, the small, and the seemingly insignificant to accomplish His mighty works. Think of Moses, a man who doubted his abilities yet became the leader of a nation. Think of Esther, a young woman in a palace who risked her life to save her people. God's power is amplified through vessels that are willing to surrender to His will. Being a vessel is not about receiving recognition or praise. It is about surrendering your desires, your timing, and your expectations to God. It is about saying, Lord, use me. Let me be an instrument of your love, your mercy, and your restoration. When you commit yourself to this, God can work in ways that are beyond your imagination. You may never fully understand the ripple effect of your faithfulness, but every act of love and kindness is planting seeds that God will nurture and bring to fruition. Furthermore, being a vessel means being obedient even when it is uncomfortable or challenging. There will be times when the person you are reaching out to resists, when your efforts seem ignored, or when circumstances appear hopeless. Yet, your obedience matters more than immediate results. God values faithfulness and integrity over convenience. Every time you choose to act in love, every time you speak words of encouragement, every time you pray for someone who seems unreachable, you are aligning yourself with God's divine plan. Remember, your presence, your prayers, and your love are powerful because God can use even the smallest acts through you. You are a living channel of His grace, a vessel through which hearts can be softened, lives can be restored, and destinies can be changed. The person you are praying for or supporting may one day look back and see the significance of your faithfulness, but even if they do not, your obedience still honors God. So, embrace your role as God's vessel, stand firm in love, speak words of life, pray with persistence, and trust that God is using you in ways you cannot yet see. Your willingness to be His instrument will have eternal impact. You are not powerless. You are God's chosen vessel to bring His light, hope, and restoration into the life of someone who desperately needs it. Timing is one of the most challenging aspects of faith, because we live in a world that demands instant results, immediate answers, and quick resolutions. We want the person we are praying for to change now. We want the situation to resolve on our schedule. We want to see immediate signs of hope and breakthrough. But God's timing is not like ours. His ways are higher, His plans are greater, and His timing is perfect. Just because we do not see immediate results does not mean God is inactive. Often, what appears to be delay is divine preparation, a season in which God is shaping hearts, orchestrating circumstances, and positioning people exactly where they need to be. The person you are concerned about may not yet be ready to receive your prayers, your encouragement, or even your love. They may still need experiences that will humble them, teach them, or open their eyes to the reality of God's presence. Sometimes God allows challenges, setback, cays, or even periods of distance because He is teaching patience, resilience, and reliance on Him. He is preparing the ground so that when the transformation finally comes, it will be lasting, profound, and aligned with His eternal purpose. The delay is not a denial, it is a preparation. This is where patience becomes crucial. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust. It is a choice to believe in God's plan even when you cannot see the outcome. It is the determination to keep praying, keep loving, and keep standing in faith, even when the circumstances appear stagnant. Every act of faithfulness, every word of encouragement, every prayer lifted is part of a divine sequence that God is orchestrating. Your persistence aligns with His timing and ensures that when the moment of breakthrough arrives, it will be powerful, undeniable, and transformative. Consider Abraham and Sarah. They waited decades for the fulfillment of God's promise to give them a child. From a human perspective, the delay seemed impossible, even unfair. Yet, in God's perfect timing, Isaac was born, and the promise was fulfilled in a way that brought glory to God and impacted generations. Similarly, the person you care about may require more time than you would like, but God's timing will never fail. The waiting period is not wasted, it is a time of growth, preparation, and divine orchestration. Trusting God's timing also frees you from the burden of forcing change. You do not need to manipulate, control, or rush the situation. Your responsibility is to be faithful in love, persistent in prayer, and patient in heart. God's hand is on the situation, guiding, shaping, and working invisibly to bring about His perfect outcome. Even when you feel weary or discouraged, remember that delay is often a sign that God is carefully crafting something far greater than you could imagine. So do not grow weary in waiting. Do not give up, because the timing does not match your expectations. Keep praying, keep loving, keep believing, because God's timing is perfect. The moment you think nothing is happening, God may be moving in ways you cannot yet see. Trust Him, remain steadfast, and watch as He brings about transformation in the person you care about at the exact time He knows is right. Your patience, combined with faith and persistence, is part of God's miraculous plan. Prayer is one of the most powerful tools that God has given us, and yet it is often underestimated. Many of us look at difficult situations and think that nothing we do will make a difference. We see a person's heart hardened by pain, pride, or past mistakes, and we wonder if our prayers even matter. But I am here to remind you that prayer changes things. Prayer is not just a ritual or a habit, it is a spiritual weapon, a lifeline to God, and a channel through which heaven moves. Every prayer you lift, whether whispered in the quiet of your heart or spoken boldly with faith, has the power to soften hearts, shift circumstances, and align destinies with God's perfect plan. Prayer is persistent. It is not defeated by delay or silence. even when the person you are praying for seems unreachable, even when the obstacles appear insurmountable. Your prayers are reaching God's ears. They are planting seeds in the spiritual realm that will bear fruit in God's timing. Sometimes we look for immediate answers and grow discouraged when we do not see results right away, but prayer is not measured by the speed of our answers. It is measured by faithfulness. Each prayer, each tear, each moment spent interceding is contributing to the fulfillment of God's plan, even if the transformation is not visible yet. Through prayer, God not only works on the person you are praying for, but also works in your heart. Prayer strengthens your faith, aligns your will with His will, and fills you with patience, hope, and perseverance. When you continue to pray for someone who seems distant, defiant, or lost, you are demonstrating trust in God's power and sovereignty. You are declaring, "Lord, I believe you can change this person. I trust your timing. I will not give up." This steadfastness of faith in prayer is a reflection of God's own relentless love for us. Prayer also opens the door for miracles. Miracles are often the culmination of persistent, fervent intercession. A word of encouragement, a divine encounter, a softened heart. All these can be outcomes of prayer. Even small, consistent prayers carry immense spiritual weight. The Bible assures us that the effective, fervent prayer of a righteous person avails much. James 5:16. That means your prayers are not wasted. They are powerful, transformative, and capable of influencing lives in ways you may never fully see. Moreover, prayer breaks strongholds. Many people are bound by fear, guilt, anger, or past mistakes. Your prayers can release chains, bring clarity, and open hearts to God's love. Even when the person resists, when the darkness seems overwhelming, your persistent prayers are shifting the spiritual atmosphere. Prayer is a force that God uses to bring light where there is darkness, hope where there is despair, and restoration where there is brokenness. So, do not underestimate the power of your prayers. Keep lifting the person you care about before God. Keep pleading for their heart, their mind, and their spirit, even when it seems like nothing is happening. God is listening, moving, and orchestrating circumstances in response to your intercession. Your prayers are not just words. They are instruments of God's will, shaping the life and destiny of the person you love. Continue praying and watch how God works wonders that exceed your imagination. Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote 8 in a flowing sermon-style format, 500 to 600 words, without subheadings. Hope is an anchor for the soul, a steadying force that keeps us grounded even when life feels uncertain, chaotic, or overwhelming. In Romans 12:12, the Bible instructs us to be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. This verse reminds us that hope is not merely a fleeting feeling or a wishful thought. It is an active choice to trust in God's promises, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. When you are standing for someone you care about, when you are praying for a heart to be softened, a life to be transformed, or a path to be redirected, hope is the fuel that keeps you moving forward. Without hope, it is easy to give up, to grow weary, and to abandon the person you have been called to love and intercede for. Hope anchors us because it looks beyond the present moment and fixes our gaze on God's eternal plan. When a person seems lost, when mistakes are repeated, or when circumstances appear impossible, hope reminds us that God is still at work. He has not forgotten the person you are praying for. He is orchestrating a plan that is far beyond what you can see, far beyond what you can control, and far beyond what the enemy wants you to believe. Hope allows you to hold on in faith, to stand firm in love, and to trust that your efforts, your prayers, your encouragement, your patience are never in vain. Hope also empowers perseverance. It gives you the courage to keep showing up when it feels like no progress is being made. It strengthens your resolve to continue speaking words of life, offering support, and extending love even when it seems unappreciated or ignored. Hope reminds you that your faithfulness is planting seeds that will bear fruit in God's timing. Every tear you shed, every prayer you lift, and every act of love is contributing to a greater purpose that will eventually come to fruition. Moreover, hope impacts the person you are interceding for. When you maintain hope, you radiate faith, encouragement, and confidence that God can change hearts and restore lives. Your hope becomes contagious, offering them a glimpse of God's love and a vision of what is possible. People often respond to hope more than they respond to criticism, frustration, or despair. Your unwavering hope can be the spark that inspires them to open their hearts, turn to God, and embrace transformation. Hope also aligns us with God's promises. It keeps our hearts open to His timing, His wisdom, and His power. Even when we cannot see the outcome, hope allows us to trust that God is orchestrating events and shaping hearts perfectly. It reminds us that He is faithful, that His love is unending, and that He is always at work in ways that defy human understanding. So, hold tightly to hope. Let it anchor your soul, guide your actions, and sustain your prayers, even when the journey feels long. Even when the person seems distant or unreachable, hope will keep you steadfast. It is through hope that God can accomplish the impossible, heal the broken, and restore what was lost. Your hope, combined with faith, love, and persistence, becomes a powerful force that God uses to change hearts, transform lives, and fulfill His divine purpose. Do not let go of hope, because in hope, miracles begin and God's promises come to life. So today, God is calling you to courage, persistence, and unwavering love. Don't give up, don't walk away, and don't stop praying. Even when it feels impossible, remember, God is not done yet. He is working in ways you cannot see, moving mountains, softening hearts, and orchestrating a plan greater than you imagine. Stand firm, keep believing, keep loving, and trust that the person you care for is exactly where God wants them to be, under His transformative power. Your faith, your hope, and your persistence will not be in vain, because God is saying loud and clear, don't you dare give up.